Welcome to Pan-African Television Network. Dr. Limkan speaking here. I have with me Dr. Arikana Chihombori-Quao, the former AU ambassador to the United States, the founder and president of the African Diaspora Institute, Development Institute. She's also a medical doctor by profession. So, just because she has been the former AU ambassador to the United States, she knows a lot about the African Union. So I decided to bring her into the studio today to tell us what is the African Union and what is the role of the African Union in Africa. So I titled our discussion today from OAU to AU. Is it a toothless bulldog? So I want to hear from you today because a lot of Africans have got expectations about how this African Union should operate. So she can tell us better. Doc, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think it's a very important topic that you have chosen for us to converse. And also just want to welcome you and thank you for hosting this television network, which is very much needed. A television network that we are going to be discussing African issues from a perspective that we feel that a lot of people have questions, and we dive into a better and deeper understanding of why Africa is where Africa is today, and why we are of the mindset that we are today, and why is it that we are unable to undo the damage from colonization. Why is it that we are unable as a people to do what other countries, other continents are able to do, as a matter of fact, without even thinking about it. The abuses of the African continent can no longer continue. And yet we all know that we are being abused, we are being taken advantage of, but somehow we can't come together as a people and fight back and stand our ground. I'm getting to your question. I need to send the premise as to why African Union is where African Union is today. As you know, we started with a meeting that took place in 1963 when all the African leaders at that time, African leaders of the quote-unquote free African countries, came together at the invitation of Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia to discuss the possibility of creating an Africa that was united, an Africa that spoke with one voice, an Africa that had a single currency, single military, single monetary policy, an Africa that truly spoke for all people of Africa, of African descent, not only living in Africa, but also around the globe. As you know, that meeting failed to accomplish that meeting. Why did they fail? Because brown envelopes took place. They were exchanged. And brown envelopes have been exchanged since 1963 up until now. African Union has failed to deliver on the wishes of our Pan-African fathers. The wishes that were discussed in 1963, year in, year out, over 60 years later, we're still struggling with the possibility of uniting as one Africa, one continent, one voice. It is with that understanding and appreciation that I often call the African Union a toothless bulldog.
African Union, a toothless bulldog.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, I wouldn't want to say that, of course, you are telling the people that African Union has failed, but they have to understand why you are saying so. So, myself today, I want to learn because you yourself, you've been an ambassador. Why are you saying that the African Union has failed? Let's look back in the 1963 when it was formed. Remember, the idea was to form a united Africa.
Correct.
Yeah. So why is it that they failed to form a united Africa since then? What happened?
Well, as I started saying in my opening remarks, as Black people, we were defeated where it matters the most, which is the mind. The idea that we should come together and speak with one voice, just like the United States, just like the Europeans realized after they destroyed themselves post First and Second World War, they understood the importance of unity. So they created the European Union. They got rid of the visas. Europeans can run around their Europe free. They don't need a visa. Let's take something so simple, something that all the parliamentarians could decide on today, vote on today, and say free movement of people throughout the African continent. Why haven't they done it? We know if the African Continental Free Trade Area is to succeed in its implementation, free movement of people is a must. And yet, it is just talked about, but is never actualized. Slowly, we are getting some countries that are taking it upon themselves to say visa-free for African nations. But this is 2026. 1963, a discussion was held to talk about a free continent, free movement of people. 2026, we're still struggling with that, something so simple, something that has nothing to do with the fact that we were once colonized, the fact that we're still dealing with neo-colonization. The parliamentarians...
So when they came together in 1963 in Addis Ababa, when they talked about the United States of Africa, the idea was to have free movement of people by Kwame Nkrumah, who suggested that. I remember from your book, the book Africa 102, you talk
which
about,
is yet to be published,
yes,
by the way.
Oh, okay. You talk about countries like Ghana, and is it Algeria?
Ghana, Guinea.
Who formed the Casablanca group.
Ghana, Guinea, Mali, yes. Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia.
And who formed the two groups. So there were two functions there.
Yes.
The others were for a united Africa. And
the Casablanca group was for United Africa. They were saying Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, African Union now. The Monrovia group, who were the majority, they said, let's hold off on this United Africa thing. Let's kind of go slow. So that's why the Monrovia group won. We often say Africa lost when the Casablanca group lost in 1963. We have been going slow ever since. The point I was trying to make, son, is our minds are defeated. The things that seem to be very standard and ordinary and not even an issue to be discussed in other countries, in other regions, we seem to struggle with that. Part of it is that we are being paid.
But look, since 1963, when they came together, some African countries were not yet independent.
Correct.
Yes. So if this Monrovia group, which was led by Nigeria, they said, no, we cannot have an United States of Africa. Let's go slow. What were the reasons behind the going slow? And I remember you said 24 countries actually
24 countries, yeah.
were saying, no, let's go slow. They don't want the United States of Africa. And then the few countries are the ones who wanted United States of Africa.
Part of it is because the brown envelopes moved around. And secondly, some of them had just tasted power and they wanted to hold on to the power for a little bit longer. Okay. But honestly, I do believe that even they themselves, the original Pan-African fathers, they did not realize that so many years later, we were still going to be struggling with such a simple issue that seems so obvious that we shouldn't even be debating it. But here we are, stupidity of the highest order. We're still debating whether or not we should have a united Africa. We're still debating whether or not we should have free movement of people. We're still debating whether or not some Africans can go and live from one country to the other. We're dealing with xenophobia in South Africa. We have issues as a people. So yeah, it goes back to the mind. This stupidity is unbelievable.
But let's look at Europe, the European Union. When did it start? Remember, they had independent states, and then they later formed the European Union, but they still have their own independence, sovereignties, where they can manage their own affairs as a country. Right. Because you talk about the non-interference thing, you're saying that the Monrovia said, no, we, from the Organization of African Unity, they said, we just want to enjoy our independence and then we don't want to be in a non-interference policy. So
Yeah,
I want
basically-
to understand on the non-interference policy. Was it economic based or was it political based that they don't want one African country to interfere into another African country?
Well, I wasn't there, but what I can tell you is basically the situation with the African Union, membership is voluntary.
Okay.
Any African president can choose not to become a member. There are no consequences. I think it was a consensus to say we are new nations, we are trying to build our nations, and if we have a body that controls us, there could be some challenges in terms of how they move forward. Whether that was a genuine reason, I'm not sure. Or could it also be that the colonial powers from behind, which of course NATO at that time, was also realizing that if they have a body that can govern these countries, then we're beginning to have the semblance of the beginning of a united Africa. They did not want that.
They don't want that.
There were so many other forces that were very much against a united Africa or any possibility or semblance of us working together. Those forces continue to exist to this day. That's why we are still unable to deal with basic issues. Look at the European Union. The European Union, that's the first thing, one of the things they dealt with was single currency. Then they also dealt with free movement of people. Then they also dealt with trade.
Trade.
Basic.
Those are very important.
Very important pillars of development.
development, yes.
We're still struggling with that. Even the AFCFTA is done, but does anybody even know? Most Africans, do they even know what it is? No, they don't. Do they even feel that something is happening? No, they don't. So really, we are still very fragmented by design. And we know it. We have intelligent young men like you. We have written papers and papers that say we must come together, we must unite, this is what Africa needs to do. And those papers are filed in a drawer somewhere. And we keep on writing more papers. And the basic needs of the people are being ignored. The basic issues that need to be addressed as a continent in order to move the continent together are not being addressed. They are being addressed by little-bitty countries, which means Berlin Conference remains alive and well today. As long as we continue to have the boundaries that divide us, Berlin Conference is alive and well. Everybody in the African Union knows that. The heads of states know that. I can't say all the parliamentarians do. Some of our parliamentarians they only understand their issues in their little communities where they come from. I can't blame them for not really understanding the global affairs. But nonetheless, we have issues.
So the Berlin Conference, if you're talking about the Berlin Conference, that it has been successful in dividing Africa, so which means the mandate of the AU was to unite Africa. So you said that Kwame Nkrumah warned African leaders that we are going to be divided more by neo-colonialism. And I think the neo-colonialism is what is happening. For example, you mentioned the issue of South Africa. It's about the haves and the have-nots. And then a lot of Africans do not have. They are very poor. So they think if some African states, they think that if they are going to afford free movement of people, and then Malawians are going to take the jobs of Ghanaians, and Ghanaians are going to take the jobs of South Africans.
But it's really an economic of scale. You'll find that while there's a very high unemployment in South Africa, which is why I think it's actually a joke that if a Zimbabwean doctor leaves South Africa, is there a South African doctor who's going to take that place? South Africa still needs the doctors. If Zimbabwean doctors left South Africa today, there's going to be a shortage. So the issue of saying they're taking jobs that the South Africans would otherwise have, that is a mute point. It just doesn't even make any sense.
It's an issue of economic migration. Why are we having a lot of foreigners in South Africa? And then we're not having them in Zimbabwe. We're not having a lot of foreigners in Kenya. I don't know if we do have.
There is a semblance that everybody's doing well, which is really sad. You know as much as I do. Some of the biggest shanty towns that I've seen are in South Africa. So it is these very same people coming out, crawling out of those shanty towns
Okay.
who are coming in and say, you are taking our jobs. What jobs? These are street vendors. You can equally be a street vendor and make a living. But South Africans don't want to do that. They would rather be on welfare, stand in line to get some little donation from the government every month. You know. So again, most of it is really based on ignorance. Ignorance of our history, ignorance.
But you're not answering the question, Doc, because remember, before we talk about the unity of Africa, I think the problem we have to deal with...
No, what is the question?
We have to deal with the causes.
No, hold on.
Why are we failing to unite as Africa? Because if I go to Ethiopia myself as a Zimbabwean, I find hungry Ethiopians who are going to say, no, you are the one who's making us hungry here.
Okay, and again, maybe you're not listening to me. I said we were defeated where it matters the most. That is the mind. The stupidity is because of the mind. Now tell me why tomorrow African parliamentarians cannot vote on the free movement of people. Give me one reason why they can't do it. None.
Yeah, of course, I think the free movement of people is being caused by, if you come to my house, I won't have enough to feed my kids.
But again, what's going to happen is, while there may not be an opportunity for you in Zimbabwe, but when you move, you might find that there's an opportunity for you in Botswana, in Ghana. But how are you going to know if you don't move? If the visa is stopping you? I was talking to one of the former the Commissioner for Trade at the African Union, and he showed me a picture. It looked like that was a road, and there were women on this side selling their wares, tomatoes and what have you. Women on the other side doing the same thing. He said, Ambassador, what do you see? I said, well, I see a road and women on either side. And he said, no, that is a border. When the women on this side run out of tomatoes, the customers cannot go over here. The tomatoes that they can see across what looks like a road, they need a visa because that's another country. They cannot cross over to buy the tomatoes on this side because they don't have a visa. How stupid is that?
That's a crazy world. So,
are you beginning to see what?
Yes, I'm getting
it is absolutely mind-boggling when you think about the things that we could address as Africans, and we're not addressing them. It defies logic. The only thing you can say is we're just some of the most stupid people I know. Because we simply cannot do some of the basic things we need to do to take care of ourselves, to liberate ourselves. You take our educational system. Why are we still using colonial textbooks? The average African school system, you're lucky if you get 20-25% African history. It's still mostly history about others, mostly European history. You look at our artifacts that were stolen by the colonizers. Today, here in Zimbabwe, we're talking Mbuyane, Sekuru Kaguvi, many others. Our ancestors, their heads are sitting in jars, in basements throughout Europe. They know it. Our artifacts are littering museums throughout Europe. We Africans go to Europe and pay to see what belongs to us. I don't know if you heard the story of one Nigerian guy. He went to a museum in London, and there was a bronze statue as you entered the museum. We all know Benin bronze. They were stolen from Nigeria. So he went in there prepared with his tools, and he started unscrewing the statue. When they called security, he grabbed the statue. He said, no, this is mine. I'm here to take it. Rightfully so. That statue belongs to Nigeria. It's a Benin bronze. Show me where you paid for it. We know it. Why do our ministers of culture continue to go to Europe when the theft, the stolen goods have not been returned? Are you getting me?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
We are so stupid. It's embarrassing sometimes.
So I think that's what we need to fix. Remember in your book, Africa 102, you talk about the contracts that we have been signing as African leaders. Contracts which leave us with nothing, and then the rest goes to Europe.
Are you talking about value addition, trade?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yes. Yes, like for example, you mentioned the issue of minerals in DRC.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the issue of 24 African states whose currency is still printed by France.
That's 14, yes.
Oh, 14.
14 countries, yes,
14.
to this day.
Yes, yes.
And that currency is just, they said, you Africans, you're special. We're going to create a special currency just for you. France doesn't even use it. They just create it just for the Africans, for control. So now, if any of those countries want to trade with, say, China, the money has to go through, the payment has to go through France. France takes their commission before the money goes to China. To this day. Why are we so special that you got to create a currency for us? Why can't we create our own? But again, the question I have is, this is 2022. Why haven't we gotten up and say, enough is enough? We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We are done. We are creating our own currency. That's it. That's all they have to do. What do you think France is going to do if all the Africans come together? The problem is, if one country tries to do it on its own, there will be consequences in that country. There will be a coup, there will be instability, all kinds of things.
Sanctions and all the stuff.
But if they all come together, if all of ECOWAS came together and said, we're done, we're going to have our own currency, what do you think France is going to do? Nothing. France needs Africa. Africa does not need France. I don't know what it's going to take for our leadership to understand that. I understand that there are some logistical issues, but you know what? There are going to be some challenges. There's going to be some pain whenever we are going through these changes. Let's be prepared for them. And let's be prepared to also suffer the consequences, but knowing that once we go through this difficult time, better days are ahead. Some sacrifices have to be made. We made sacrifices here in Zimbabwe. When young men and women left to go into the bush to learn how to fight, to come back so this country could be what it is today. Those moments are needed again at this time. Sacrifices must be made. The people in Burkina Faso, I keep going back to Burkina Faso. They're saying, we are going through some difficult times, but we found a leader who we believe in, a leader who's taking us, and we are seeing development in the past 3 years than we have seen in the past 30 years. So we are going to suffer. There's going to be some pain. But we know if we work together, if we unite towards a common goal, a better Burkina Faso is to come.
Africa failed to have one army, to have its own.
Are you listening to me, or am I talking to myself?
No. I'm listening to you.
So you're getting the point.
You're talking about brown envelopes, yes. You're talking about brown envelopes.
Precisely.
But I'm looking within Africa itself.
Yes.
That we cannot always use Europe as a scapegoat.
We didn't say it's a scapegoat. We're saying we were defeated where it matters the most. Okay. We want to be British. We want to be American. The grass is greener over there, but we are not paying attention at the diamonds that are on our laps. The diamonds are not even on the ground. They are on our laps, ours to get. The gold, ours to get. We're here in Zimbabwe. I tell the story of Kwekwe. It's an amazing town. Lots happening in Kwekwe. The entire city is a gold mine. People get up and go to the back of their houses, scoop up some soil. They know how to process it. And they get enough gold to buy groceries for the next month. That's how rich we are. But yet, even in Kwekwe, young people are leaving to go look for gold somewhere else. The riches are right here. And we must really be aware of what we have and now begin to come together to develop our own nations, to build our own nations. Burkina Faso has the formula. Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, they're doing it. They're beginning to look from within. Let's build our nations from within. Do we have that understanding of what we actually have?
But okay, it's fine. I get you. Thank you for that point. But let's look at, for example, a country like Libya, where they wanted to do it the Burkina Faso way, if you've said, or the Zimbabwean way.
No, Libya didn't try to do that. Libya simply wanted to make sure that Gaddafi wanted a united Africa. He wanted to take it back to what was supposed to have been done in 1963. And he was moving fast. He had enough money. He understood that brown envelopes are being passed around. So he had enough money to buy anybody that needed to be bought in order to accomplish and achieve what our Pan-African fathers wanted to achieve in 1963. That's why they got rid of him.
So in other ways, you're trying to say that Europe is not afraid if a single African country will start developing itself. It's only afraid when a strong African leader rises to unite the whole of Africa.
No. They've tried to assassinate Traore 38 times that I know of.
Okay.
Because he's developing his country. He's nationalizing the natural resources. He's taken over his gold mine. He said, there's no reason why my people should be poor when our gold is going to Europe, is going to France. Niger said, there's no reason why our people should be poor when our uranium is powering 33% of France, and what's left, they're giving us 80 cents per kilo, they're selling it at 200 euros per kilo. That's what a leader with balls will do. I'm taking what belongs to me. My people can no longer be hungry when you're stealing from me. My wealth can no longer continue to fund French education, to fund French healthcare, to power France when my people don't have electricity. How stupid do you have to be? That is all we are saying.
But you like Burkina Faso a lot.
I'm talking about the Sahel nations.
It's okay. But look at Burkina Faso. They've got an army. And then, I don't know how Traore came into power. They said maybe it was the so-called coup d'etat. And he sort of like...
some call it coup d'etat.
It is the army in power. It is the army in power. So maybe that is the reason why he can protect himself from those who want to penetrate the government.
No.
So
the people
are you recommending that all African countries should have the army in power to make sure that they enforce development?
First of all, the African Union needs to redefine what is a coup. What France was doing in the 14 African countries, those were economic coups. When you say, initially, soon after independence in the 50s and 60s, 85% of their bank reserves of those 14 nations, they were forced to deposit with the Reserve Bank of France. They were forced to give up their natural resources. They were forced to buy all their military equipment, if approved, only from France. They were forced to get only training of their military by France. What do you call that? Those were coups, serious coups, but they were not being labeled coups. Come on now, baby. Talk to me. You're a smart man. And then when young men stand up and say, I'm tired of being hungry. You are a bully. You are taking my damn lunch every day. That's it. Today it's over. You are not taking my lunch anymore.
Yeah.
You call that a coup? That was liberation.
That's liberation.
That is liberation.
Overthrowing a government.
Overthrowing a government, a puppet government?
So let's talk about.
Let's be serious. No, this is a very important topic.
Yes, it's a very important topic.
Because that is not a coup.
Yeah, it's not.
What happened in the Sahel is not a coup. It's young men standing up and defending their turf and saying, finally, were you happy with France continuing to eat your lunch?
No, I agree with you. So let's look at. You say, I read a statement in your book where you say Patrice Lumumba, Sankara, those are coups. I think because you touched the issue of coup. You said that
they were assassinated.
They were assassinated.
Yeah.
Yes, and then you said those are forms of a coup in which they were overthrowing those who would rise for Africa.
Correct.
Yes. And then you also mentioned coups.
So let me say, there are coups and then there are coups. There are some coups that are mislabeled as coups when they are not coups. Like what's happened in the Sahel.
Okay.
Black men finally are standing up and defending their turf and defending their turfs successfully. That's not a coup.
So
that is not a coup.
What should young men do to the AU? Do you think we should rise?
AU needs to be completely dismantled and start afresh. Just like the United Nations, completely dismantled and start afresh.
So you said in 2002, is it 2011? I'm not sure 2002. Let me check my calendars. I think 2006. You said that the budget for AU was almost like 64 million for them to go for a summit. which means to say that different African states, they fund the AU for summits, they fund the AU for them to...
The budget for the African Union, for the most part, is from Europe. That's the sad part. They don't fund themselves. They're trying, but for decades, AU was funded by Europe. So
that's the reason why they cannot voice against Europe.
Bingo, part of the reasons.
And
yes.
that the current parliament, the building, it was built by the Chinese.
Correct.
So in other words, for the AU to be an effective organization, it has to deal with Europe. It is dealing itself.
Here's the thing. There's no reason why the AU should need funding from anybody. There's enough money in Africa. There isn't enough money in Africa. AU should be able to fund itself. Again, that's another joke. They go begging for peanuts. I won't mention which president flew all the way to France to get $40 million. Can you imagine? An African leader flying to Europe to beg for $40 million. How ridiculous is that? But it happens every day. So yes, we are a hopeless nation until we wake up. And the only way to successfully succeed at becoming an independent Africa is when all African leaders can come together and speak with one voice. When we can take the bull by the horns and simply say, what is not good for the European nations is not good for the Africans. That's it. If you cannot do it to your people, don't do it to our people. Your natural resources belong to your people. The natural resources in Africa belong to the Africans.
I think the first thing that should be done by Africans is to gain their economic independence. Make
Precisely.
sure that they've got all the raw materials, and then they make them the finished products, and then they sell them to Europe.
Why should we send to Europe? We need, first of all, increase intra-Africa trade. Right now, intra-Africa trade is sitting at about 17%. Why are we sending the cocoa beans to Switzerland when we could, and then only for the Africans to fly to Europe and bring back chocolates? Chocolates that came from Ghana, cocoa beans from Ghana. Chocolate that came from the cocoa beans from Nigeria, from Cote d'Ivoire. It's simple. Africans love chocolate. Let's make the chocolate. Let's sell the chocolates to African countries first. If there's any surplus, maybe we will send to Europe. But we must increase intra-Africa trade. Africa really doesn't need anybody. I'm surprised that you even started by saying, oh, we sell to Europe. No, we need to sell within Africa. Why should we sell to Europe? I want chocolate.
We definitely need Europe. We definitely need Europe to buy as a buyer. As a buyer.
Stop. You're making me angry now.
Okay.
How can you say we need Europe? The word need needs to get out of your brain.
Okay.
We don't need anybody. Africans are self-sufficient. We get everything we need in Africa. Europe will tell you they don't need us. No, they need us. We don't need Europe. So son, please, take that out of your head. We do not need Europe. Europe needs us. Let's work on increasing intra-Africa trade.
Recently, I saw a group of African leaders who visited the White House. Did you see that one? I think there was a president from DRC.
I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, they went and they were in that Oval Office.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So what's your question?
what's your comment on that one?
Well, they can visit. But the question is, and I kind of like the fact that they visited, didn't make any commitments. Okay, we heard you. So I kind of like it. There were no commitments. They just went in. It was a nice visit, but nothing came out of it.
Nothing came out of it.
No.
So, Doc, but I want you to tell the audience, what's the best way to deal with the African Union and to come up with a strong African Union organization?
I think the African Union, from my own understanding, first of all, even the employees themselves, all they want to do is run the budget down at the end of the month, of the year, and zero it down. They really have no plans to accomplish anything. The ones, when I was still there, they would jokingly say, oh, Ambassador, if you have any idea that you want killed, bring it to us, we'll kill it for you. They're not serious about really building a successful, productive African Union. You can't fire anybody out of the African Union. All they have to do is call their home country. Oh, they are abusing me. They are taking advantage of me. Yeah. You can't fire anybody out of the AU.
But how then do we make sure that we rebuild it according to what you have said in your book?
The African heads of states, they need to dismantle it. Dismantle it and start all over. And it needs to have teeth. African Union must have sovereignty. African Union should be able to call out countries that are out of line. But right now, there's nothing African Union can do. Because if they try to be heavy-handed with a country, with a leader who's misbehaving, that leader simply say, I'm resigning from the African Union, and that's it.
It's out of the African Union.
African Union needs to have sovereignty, and African Union needs to be given some teeth through a new constitution that understands the issues that Africa is facing today, and give African Union the ability to deal with them and deal with them effectively, regardless of any outside influences. And we also need to make sure that the African heads of states and anyone working for the government, they are not getting brown envelopes. The problem that most African leaders are dealing with right now, they are quite compromised in the sense that some of their own ministers are on the payrolls of foreign governments. That is a serious challenge that the African leaders are dealing with right now, and it needs to be addressed. But again, it's back to the mind. Our people are defeated where it matters the most. When you will accept money to go against your government, you are a sick man. And we have a lot of them who are in government today across Africa.
Maybe we need a coup d'etat against the current African Union.
Well, you can call it a coup, but again, remember, I don't call it a coup. I call it taking care of business. You see, if you're going to be taking care of business, of feeding your people, of housing your people, of getting your people employed, that is the business that I'm talking about. Do you call it a coup?
It's not a coup.
It's not a coup. It's called economic liberation. It's called economic development. It's called standing your ground and defending your turf. The rest of the world does that, except Africa. That's why I'm so proud.
So maybe young African leaders like Traore should form a parallel organization.
They already have. They created the Federation of the Sahel Nations. They're getting ready to have their own currency. They already have their own military. When there was that situation, the terrorist attack in Mali, it is the Malian forces together with the Sahel forces that thwarted the whole thing. It was dealt with decisively. That's what you do when you take care of business, when you take care and protect and defend your people. That's what you do. The rest of the African nations, they must follow. I love what I heard coming out of the president of Botswana, president of Namibia. Yeah, leaders are coming up.
But people in the Southern Africa saying SADC is a toothless pool.
That's another one, but they're coming along. SADC really needs to become a federation. They don't have a choice. SADC needs to become a federation. That's all there is to it. Nobody should need a passport or a visa to go to any of the Southern African countries. Your driver's license should make you cross the border in SADC area. East African community should do the same thing.
In Botswana, there's no more visa needed.
And you know why?
I think
because those leaders are awoken. They get it. But more importantly, we got a girl, we got a female, we got a black African female leader taking care of business.
How come most of these countries in Southern Africa, they are denying Zimbabwe they don't want to unite with Zimbabwe in terms of the issues?
Passports. No, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. I can tell you for a fact. Zimbabwe is very much pivotal to SADC. You can't leave Zimbabwe out in SADC. I mean, that's just all there is to it. You know, we got leaders like the president of Namibia. She's not going to tolerate that. It's going to happen. Okay. It's just a matter of time. So that one I'm not worried about.
So what's your comment on South Africa, given that is the only child that has a problem right now in SADC? And how can South Africa resolve their immigration issues? Them chasing out fellow Africans.
Again, you have to look at it and say, who is benefiting from the chaos that's happening right now? It's not about the foreigners taking the jobs that South Africans should be having. No, that's not what it's about. There are more brown envelopes being passed around. The real issue is who is benefiting. The people who are claiming to be leading this conversation, some may know who's funding them. They have a budget. They're traveling all over South Africa. Follow the money. Who is funding them? These are poor young people.
You are again blaming the whites.
I'm not blaming the whites. I said, who is funding them? Money has no color. Follow the money. And you'll get to the bottom of who is benefiting from the chaos in South Africa.
Who is funding them?
I do not know. What I do know is somebody is funding these young people. These young people, some of them are not even employed.
Yeah, for sure.
So where's the money coming from? Yeah. They're traveling all over South Africa. Come on, don't be stupid. Are you with me? Who is funding them? Follow the money. And you'll know who is benefiting from the chaos. I'm not talking about color.
The former President Zuma, I think when you were the ambassador,
yeah.
Zuma was still the president of South Africa.
Yes.
He spoke out recently.
To say what? I did not hear that.
He's saying in Zulu, whose country is this one? And he was saying that we don't need foreigners because he spoke out at his party, the rally part for his party. Yes. Where he was saying that this country belongs to South Africans, not every African.
I did not hear that speech. I'll have to look it up. I have to look it up. But what I can say is we need to figure out who is ultimately benefiting from the chaos in South Africa. And once we know who that is, because they have a tendency to give us a shiny object, and we run after the shiny object when the real issue is in the opposite direction. I want to know who is funding those young people.
But, okay, I understand that you did not watch the Zuma speech, but if given a chance, you want to advise President Zuma, I know he knows you. What would you tell him?
I would remind him of the history of South Africa. And I would remind him of the Pan-African fathers back in 1963. I would remind him of what really needs to happen if Africa is come together and unite as one continent. South Africa is where it is today because there are many African nations that supported it. That's not to say that if there are any legitimate reasons, you can't say, oh, we helped you a long time ago, therefore, you should forever be obliged we should be obliged to help you to perpetuity. The point I'm trying to say is we're talking about an Africa speaking with one voice. So we can't say on one hand, we want an Africa speaking with one voice, and on the other hand, we're kicking ourselves, we're kicking each other mercilessly and killing each other like we're doing in South Africa. There's a conversation that needs to take place at a higher level, at the presidential level, to really address this. Now, the other nations could turn around and also say, you know what, particularly South African nationals, but companies in particular, you could turn around and say, hey, we have South African investors all over the continent. Every country can just say, yo, get out. That's revenge. I remember...
Nigeria is doing that. It's chasing out South African business.
Every country should do that. Obasanjo, back then, I remember one time, South Africa sent away a whole plane, turned around a whole plane of Nigerian, or coming from Nigeria, let me just say. I think it was a yellow fever issue or whatever reason. Before that plane landed back in Lagos, Obasanjo had already also given an order. Any South African flight arriving in Lagos should turn around and go back. That situation was taken care of the same day. Are you with me?
Yeah.
It's like Mali, when the US said, if you're from Mali and you need to come to the United States, you have to post a bond of $15,000. Mali said, no problem. Americans coming to Mali, same thing. It was supposed to be, in fact, on a day, I think it was like the 23rd, I can't remember which month, before that date came, the US reversed their position.
Yeah.
So we just have to have balls. If they're going to be kicking South Africans, Nigerians out of South Africa, Nigerians should kick South Africans out of Nigeria as well. Let's see how long that situation would last. It is the South African businesses that are going to make this whole thing go away, because they want to continue to do business in West Africa. But if all West African countries say, all South Africans' businesses out, the situation will change overnight. Because the same people who are paying, they're now going to say to these young people, we're not paying you anyway. Move away from the streets.
But South Africans are saying that you African countries, fix your own economies.
Well, that's fine.
Do not just leave everything in South Africa to
No. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. They should do that. But also South Africans in those countries, they need to go back. Go do business in your country. It's called tit for tat.
So that's Africa for you. That's Africa.
And if they did that, this situation will come to an end very quickly.
That's Africa for you.
Because what's happening here is the poor young people who are killing each other. The ones who are really making money out of South Africa and out of Africa, they're having fun. So let's hit them where it hurts the most. Those who are going to South Africa, they're going to Nigeria, they're going to Ghana, they're going all over Africa doing business. They need to go back home. South Africans need jobs.
Do they really have a lot of South Africans out there?
Oh my God. You know how many pick and pays are all over Africa? Go to West Africa. Pick and pay. That's just one I can think of. Lots of South African companies all over Africa. If all the African countries are also going to say, South African businesses, there is a high unemployment in South Africa. Go back home, open your businesses in South Africa, create jobs for the millions of South Africans who are jobless. Lower the unemployment rate.
But anyway, in a nutshell, Doc, this is...
No, but you're getting my point.
This is Africa for you. This is Africa for you.
There you go.
You see what the fights.
Exactly.
They're just fighting for the crumbs falling from the big man's table.
Let me say, absolutely. Yeah. We are under the table, fighting over crumbs.
Crumbs, yes.
Who got more of the crumbs under the table? And they're sitting in our home. We're eating the food that we would have prepared for them. And when we finish, we go under the table. You know what's really simple? While we are under the table, if we could just stand up, we can topple the table. And the game is over. Why aren't we doing that? Once again, we were defeated where it matters the most, the mind. We're too stupid to realize that I am being told that your brother is getting more of the crumbs under the table. This pizza has 16 slices. They're keeping 15. And then they want to know why you can't feed each other when we're only fighting. We're the majority, we're fighting over one slice. We're not questioning. What happened to the other 15 slices? We were trained, conditioned not to ask those important questions. Yes. And should you be one of the few who get it and start asking those questions, how dare you become the smart slave on the plantation? It's not allowed. You gotta go.
That's an African problem. So according to me, before you leave the studio, Doc, according to me, I believe that the solution to the African problem is to start by a regional unit.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more.
Like the Sahel, we can also
federation of this. Yes, absolutely.
And then we can also start with SADC. But the problem with SADC now is because they are dealing with head of states. So how do you make sure that SADC becomes effective?
What do you mean?
If you find that, for example, SADC, of course, there is some progress. I'm happy with Botswana. I'm happy with what Namibia is doing.
Botswana and Namibia are really progressive.
I'm unhappy with South Africa. But I think the unit of Africa begins with those regional bodies.
Absolutely. Because trying to do it all at once, one of the biggest challenges the European Union had in their creation was the currency. really trying to put together all those currencies. So you can imagine trying to bring together all the African currencies, it is a challenge. So I agree with you. We need to start regionally. And when the regions are well established and functioning, then we can then begin to look at how we can come together as a continent. But you're quite right. We need to start regionally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you have any last words that you want to say to the people?
Last words to the people. 1963, Kwame Nkrumah said, Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. Fast forward, 2026, we're still struggling with the issue of creating an Africa that spoke with one voice, one heart, one mind. Why? It's because we were defeated where it matters the most, the mind. Wake up, Africa. Rise, Africa, rise.
Thank you. These African problems.